Hi, and welcome to the Art of Advocacy show. Today we're going to be talking about the important question that you want to make sure you always ask. Hi, I'm Charmaine Tanner, a parent advocate and author of the #1 best-selling book, The Art of Advocacy, A Parent's Guide to a Collaborative IEP Process. So you might have a child that just loves doing cool experiments, like putting those Mentos inside the Diet Coke bottle and watching that geyser erupt. Well, what clues does this tell us about your child? What we want to look at is, if we know that he likes doing these cool experiments, how can that be helpful information at school? Well, one, it could tell us that maybe he enjoys science, and that might be a favorite subject as long as there's more experiment time and less time reading in a textbook. Or it could mean that your child will be motivated and more engaged if he's got hands-on activities to do. And then what we want to look at is, if we know this, how can that be beneficial for teachers in the classroom? Because we know it's helpful if we know our kids' gifts and strengths, but if we don't make that connection and go take that next step as far as how to use that information in the school, it's really not going to be that helpful for helping your child learn more. So what we're going to be looking at today is that question that we should also be asking not only in every IEP meeting, but even in informal parent-teacher conferences, things like that, is what teaching strategies can be used to build on your child's strengths. That's what we want to be figuring out and tapping into. So there's 3 easy steps that you can do. One is just a few days before the IEP meeting, you could sit down with your child's teachers and share ideas on what his strengths are and how they can be built on. You want to look at ways that the teacher can teach him new skills and concepts in a variety of ways, how he can be more engaged in the learning at school. And also we want to look at how teachers can evaluate what he's learned, all the while tapping into his strengths, gifts, and interests. So a tool that I often use with families is what I call the Strengths Strategy Profile. And you can just do this on a piece of paper where on the left side you write down a list of all your child's strengths, his interests and talents. And then on the right-hand side, you want to leave space for writing down what a corresponding or a matching strategy would be. So let's look at a couple here for Todd. It says on number 2 that Todd learns by watching others. So if I was Todd's teacher, I would say, oh, okay, well, how about if I use peer tutors as a way to help Todd learn more in our science class? Or how could I incorporate more cooperative learning groups when we're doing our science work? Those could be some strategies that would match a student who learns by watching others. Or let's look at number 3. It says that he likes looking at astronomy magazines. Well, that might give the teacher a hint like, oh, okay, well, there's Earth and Space Science class that he could take as an elective. So the idea is to work together with the teachers, because the more time that they have coming up with these ideas, the more ownership they'll have, and your chances of having them implement these strategies are greater when they have that ownership. And then what you want to make sure you do is to bring the strengths and strategies list to your IEP meeting, because there are parts in the IEP where this could be written in and it would be real helpful. One of the cautions I have is not to think that you're going to go to the IEP meeting and be directing teachers, you must use this reading curriculum, or this is the science or the math program that you have to use with my child, because those are decisions that the teacher makes. However, the IEP team can describe the types of activities and the accommodations that your child needs. So some of the accommodations for this student that we've been using as an example would be hands-on activities, working with a peer, having the teacher use more project-based assessments instead of pencil paper types of assessments. So these are things that you could capture in that accommodation section on the IEP, and that would be really helpful. So let's look quickly at just one more example. This is for a student who just loves to read out loud to his cousins when they come over. So that's great, but it's like, well, I'm his teacher. How do I use that information at school? How do I incorporate that? Well, one idea would be for the student to go down to the kindergarten class and read out loud to the kindergartners. So not only is the student working on his reading skills, but he's also just delighting the kindergarten class because they love to have guest readers come in. So this would be a win-win both for your child and for those little kindergartners. Well, sometimes when I'm working with parents, they'll kind of hesitate and kind of be worried about how are we going to ask teachers to do this, because teachers might perceive this as extra work that they have to do. Well, one thing that I remind the families of is what the I means in IEP, right? Individualized, so that's important. And secondly, we are hoping that the teachers will see that by looking at how to match their strategies with what a student's strengths are, that this is something that's not only helpful for your child, but chances are there's a lot of other kids in the classroom that these similar strategies would work with. So our hope is that, this might have begun as an individual process for your child, but what we want is that this become a way of thinking and teaching for all the students in the classroom. So just a quick recap on your advocacy steps that you can take is to first match those strengths, those gifts to instructional or teaching strategies. 2 is to make sure it's documented in the IEP. And 3, that you share your strength strategy profile with others. It might be the music teacher in the building who needs to know how to keep your child engaged. It might be private therapists, but this is really helpful information that you want to make sure that others can benefit from, from the work that you've done. So our main takeaway today is we're going to not only just identify the gifts of our children, but we're also going to use that to impact and inform the teaching strategies that are used in the classroom with your child. So I hope today has been helpful. My goal is to give you, strategies that are easy to use, that will help you even become a better, more effective advocate than you already are. And to know that I'm here as a parent, I've been on that journey. I continue on that journey with you. And if there's a question you have, please send me an email or post it in Facebook, and I'd love to stay connected. So until next week's video, take care.